World Network. Dr. Ruth Anderson here with you for Author's Corner. Today we've got a very special show with Doctors Jane and Phillip Mountrose and their newest book, Awakening to Your Magnificence, Your Journey into the Next New Frontier for Humanity. And I'm so glad to be here with you all. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank
Ruth.
you, Ruth.
So I just want to kind of jump in a little bit here first. You start out, you talk about spiritual guides somewhat, and I know that for you, Metatron was Archangel Metatron is one of your go-to spiritual, and he also is one of mine. So I would love to hear, I'd love to hear from you. What was that like when you were first figuring out who he was and what he meant to you? So I'd love to start with that.
Yeah, and it was the genesis of the book too, the new book, Awakening to Your Magnificence.
Yeah, and I think we had been aware of him for many years. Our work actually started in the 1990s, so we've had the benefit of watching a lot of things change through just the whole world, and also watching students and clients in this beautiful process of growth. And I think we're at a special time now, which is, I think, is where Metatron came in. And it was, by now, it actually was, I think, close to 5 years ago. It's amazing how time flies. And I actually received an angelic Reiki session from a friend of mine. So, and it was very wonderful. And I don't remember actually that I had any specific kind of a goal in mind, although it did actually change a blockage that I had had for many years, which really impressed me. And then right at the end, just as I was ready to close the whole thing, I got this message from Metatron, and he said that he wanted to talk to me. So I knew it was not something to be done at that time. So the next day I went into meditation and connected with Archangel Metatron, and he said, it's time for you to access your full range of resources, which was kind of a cryptic idea. I didn't know exactly what he was saying, but what I realized a little bit then, and I think more over time, and then also with Philip, because Philip and I started kind of processing that and moving forward together, it turned out what he was talking about was that it was time for us to come into a broader view of our reality. We're all in this 3D, and we know a lot about this, more than we want to know, probably. And in addition to that, and of course, this is so much what you're about too, Ruth, is there are archangels and, well, all sorts of ascended beings around us, enlightened masters, cosmic beings. There is the whole nature kingdom and the Elohim and the directors of the four directions and all of the nature spirits who are actually, all of us are here together. But because we've been so focused on 3D and what we can perceive with our left brains, we haven't really been able to acknowledge what's happening on a broader scale.
Right. Yeah.
So just wanted to remind you both that we are on live.
Oh, really? Oh,
okay.
Well, that's nice.
We are on live. Okay, that's great. Yeah. So Jane's revelations, that extraordinary experience with Metatron, that led me to connect more with angels, and I've been channeling for many years, and that really boosted that part of my existence and connection. And of course, connecting with our soul, which we've written books about and have healing systems based on connecting with your soul. All of this came to a head here, and we realized we had sort of reached a certain plateau in our work, and we were comfortable and enjoyed what we were doing, but we knew there was much more. And when this happened, it actually had a lot of challenges and confusion and chaos, because when you go to kind of another level, You have to leave a lot of the things behind, and some of the things that were working no longer really work or don't have much life force or um, inspiration in them anymore.
Right, right. And I think another thing was the first place we went was the archangels. That seemed pretty simple to connect with archangels. It wasn't completely foreign to us. And what we decided to do was to use oracle cards, because you could, with a deck of oracle cards, you could draw a card and meet an angel. And we
Right.
wanted to meet a lot of them, and just over time getting to know different archangels. Then we did the same thing with the masters, the ascended masters.
Right.
And all of this led us then also into the Akashic records, which became another part of that extended reality, is actually looking at uh, the truth that we have access to records of our soul's whole past history, the present, and the probable futures, that we can start to access with what we're prepared prepared to receive. It's
And
not like it's all there all at once. I think that would I think if I had that, I probably would go crazy.
yeah, and the Akashic Records, just to be clear, which is one of the resources we mention in Metatron, is opening to us all, not just to Jane and me, but everyone watching, is that universal database that has our past, present, and potential futures. It's all recorded there on a higher level. And once you connect with it, it makes sense. And people do it all the time. People who don't know what the Akashic records are have memories, distant memories, deja vu. So it's sort of out there, and it's becoming more and more apparent and more conscious, which is very powerful for your spiritual evolution.
Right. Yeah.
Would you say that Metatron still guides you guys quite a bit?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Almost daily, probably. And we introduce him a lot in our teachings too, and with clients. And not coincidentally, I suppose, Metatron is also the archangel who is considered to be the keeper of the Akashic records. So going into the Akashic records, and I would say many times, many other times, the first being I would call on would be Metatron, and then we call often on Archangel Michael for protection and to bring in that energy and others. But with the Akashic records, along with everything else, I was somehow led to track my soul's history all the way back to Atlantis. So I found out, and I wouldn't say I know all of the lives. Supposedly we've had quite a few, but I found out, well, I was burned at the stake. That was one that I had been aware of for many years. And so I found out who I was then, going back to the life of Jesus, who I was then, and other really fun ones.
Hmm.
Fun ones.
Not so fun ones.
Well, like Avalon, the mists of Avalon. I always was fascinated with that story, and it's another interesting thing about it is if you look at like Saint Germain. Saint Germain was in Avalon, as were many other beings that were spiritual beings, beings of light, and then going back from there back to Egypt and back all the way to Atlantis. I was able to identify exactly who I was, and that was pretty interesting.
Right. Yeah, it's
That,
fascinating.
that brings up a comment. So I have the true privilege of doing meditations once a month with Philip and with Jane. And we've been doing this, I want to say 3 years, if not
I
more.
would guess more than that. I don't know for sure.
One of the benefits of that is before we come on camera and after we go off camera, we get to talk. We get to ask each other questions and hear where each other are in our spiritual development and share the latest. And
Yeah, what's going on?
truly a gift that I give to myself these times with you all. Jane said to me, I don't know, 3 years ago or so, once we had gotten to the point where we had trusted each other and we knew it was actually safe to say these things out loud. And Jane started the conversation something like, I can't say this to just everybody, but, and she shared with me some of these past life knowings that she had. And darn it, Jane, you spilled the beans in this book.
Well, partly, not the whole thing.
Most,
I still consider it very personal. And I think it's not something that I like to talk about a lot.
but, but you as an author came to a point where you said, okay, there's a reason I'm to be telling this now. Whereas before, it was like,
Right.
So
well, I was burned at the stake. You kind of,
a lot of people were.
You're afraid these things are going to happen again. Well, it is interesting. It's some of these things. It feels when you're talking about them. I'm not saying you right now, but when I'm talking about them, I have to be careful because it can feel like life or death. Like I might be, or my head. I had another one where my head was chopped off.
Yeah, you have these in your memories, these painful experiences that are still in your consciousness that can be actually guiding your behavior, and it can actually be part of karma of what you're here to learn. And now you're in a safe place. You can have more freedom and clear. And what did you learn from all that?
Yeah, but I wanted to say to you, Jane, in particular, how brave of you for putting those messages, those stories out into the world and letting people see this other level of Jane Mountrose that they haven't seen before. So hands off to you.
Yes. Yeah. And in the book, there are other stories of people, a lot of our students and clients who've had these amazing experiences in the Akashic records too. And usually combined with oracles, we like to teach and use an oracle card. And one lady, she had the oracle card. It was water, which was suggesting releasing emotions. And when she went into the Akashic records, Ruth, she saw a naval shipping yard in World War II. And she went in with some anxiety about her home life before this. And she realized the man she saw in this past life in the Akashic records was her husband, who was deployed to war and killed, and she never got over it in that World War II episode, and actually she committed suicide in that lifetime. So in this lifetime, her husband was still, he had a long commute every day of 2 hours to
the
work.
Same soul.
Yeah, who she's married to now.
Right.
And she was very worried that something would happen to him. And one time, actually, he was possibly in the reserves and going to be called to some kind of military service, and she became a wreck. But anyways, the conclusion of it, just becoming aware of this, is very clearing and cleansing. And she had a lot more equanimity about her whole situation by becoming conscious of that with the oracles and the Akashic records visit.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it can be fascinating. And I think the part also with my history that you were referring to is that what I realized in all of that is that we are masters in the making, and that's why the book is called Awakening to Your Magnificence, because what we're here, I think, also for with all these things, the ultimate purpose is to understand that we're masters among masters. We haven't fully realized that ourselves now, but we can, and we should, I think, or we're being called, I could say we're being called to or offered that opportunity to see what that is, because we exist here and we also exist. It makes sense. Also, we're all one, right? We exist in all of these different dimensions, and up there somewhere there's a master. And some people have strong angelic connections, so they have been angels. People, I know we've done past life regressions in hypnotherapy where several times people have identified themselves as trees, which is a very unusual thing, but it when they describe the experience, it makes a lot of sense. And it also makes a lot of sense for who they are. they have a strong kind of connection with the elemental realms, and we all have all of these things about us that we don't recognize, that all of that are so relevant to who we really are. And then, of course, starseed origins, that's another one.
You
There
are
are all these
absolutely,
things.
you're hitting on all of the things I wanted to ask you about. Okay, so let's
Well,
go
there
into
are so many things that
Yeah,
can
we call it
be
in the book
revealed.
we call it the mysteries roadmap in the book, and organizing these different elements, the resources that Metatron called us to.
Okay, could share with us about star seeds, please.
Do you want to talk about starseeds?
Oh, okay. So the star seeds, this can answer. It seems like when we share this, if you're new to hearing this, it can be some ahas and make sense. Many people feel sort of very uncomfortable on Earth, like almost like I don't belong here, and
Mm-hmm.
things don't make sense. And I know that was the case for Jane and myself. Not everyone, and there's the percentages of people population on Earth, it varies. People say, it could be 10, 20, 30% of the people. I don't know, but a lot. And
Yeah,
it's
lots of it.
answered in this idea that one factor that influences you, just like, where you were born, what country or your religion, your culture, and so forth, is if you were actually from one or multiple different star systems, like the Pleiades, Sirian, Orion, Arcturus. There's about 10, 20 that have been identified, and probably more if you consider
Yeah, there are
all of them
some that are very rare, and
rare.
probably a lot that we just don't know about.
And so then you're more on you have a maybe coming from maybe a more evolutionary source, not making you better, but just if you're coming from a sort of a culture that's more advanced, more spiritually oriented, less purely physical, materialistic. That may be part of your mission, and why you're kind of confused why Earth seems to be extremely physical and materialistic, and a lot of its problems are because of that.
Right. But I think it's been for us. We actually came to an understanding of that ourselves back in the 90s. It just was one of those things that we happened to realize that we're Syrian, Philip and me. And it was interesting when I started tracking my identities back through time. Also, then I was able to verify that those people also were Syrians. So there are all these different things like that are that put pieces together, and pieces that you'd never think. Sometimes I would, in the records, I would receive information, and I would think, oh, come on, I can't, how am I going to believe this? And a lot of the times they say, well, search for it on Google. So I'd look something up on Google thinking, well, and the first thing that would come up would be something that would validate what I was getting from the records. And that happened many times.
Right.
I still find that so interesting. Well, look it up on the internet.
Yeah, all of this is a journey of developing your intuition more too, because we're so programmed to be linear, logical. Everything has to be verified by our physical senses, or it's dismissed or ridiculed or something. But what we found is really the answers are trusting our heart and opening our intuition and using the things we know to broaden the possibilities of things outside the box, which means they're not inside the box of things like, oh yeah, that's right there. I've done that. Everyone knows that. But wait, this is something that I'm being led to. That's very true and very real in my next step.
Right. Yeah.
So, Jane, I want to get back to what you said about look it up on Google. I have also had that experience
Isn't
where,
it funny?
right, so in meditation, I received some information, and I'm sure I was somewhat skeptical. I was like, really? What? And I heard the words, look it up on Google.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And I did, and there was the answer that I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
apparently our guides say the same thing.
Right.
Right.
Right. And I think actually I think right around the time that I started going into the records, I happened to listen to an audio, and a woman who was psychic, and she would say, well, you can always ask for validation with anything that you get, because they will help you to find it. And so I had that information in the back of my mind too, that I I deserve to have a way to validate these things without just believing things. And frankly, there were times when all of this was started happening when I really questioned my sanity. And I think that there were parts of it that were very hard for me um, to accept. But that's it's part of the journey. If we're looking at ourselves in a way that we never have before, it's to be expected that we're going to question it, and we will, and we should be able to.
Yeah, we should evaluate it and not just take it on face without any examination. One of the ones that I connected with, Merlin, connecting with different masters, and he was sort of whimsical and said life is like a magic act. You never know what's going to happen next, and had a few things. And I was kind of asking, and then I sort of asked, is something like, are you real? What Jane was saying, and you were saying, and the answer was, look it up on the internet. One of the things he said was, and I've guided people like uh, William William Blake. You can look it up on the internet. And I go, okay. And so then afterwards, I did do a Google search for William Blake and Merlin, and Merlin did a poem and engravings of Merlin.
You mean Blake? William Blake did?
William Blake did it of Merlin.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And they're all related to Saint Germain. Saint Germain is Merlin, or is.
It's a small world after
right.
all.
It is, and it is smaller, my God. Yes.
A lot of connections.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to just get in and have some conversation with the two of you. So if folks were not familiar with who you are, they can get an idea of who you are and what you bring to the table, what your past experiences have been. Because I really want folks to check out this book and get to know you all a little bit. And you guys teach classes. You've got an entire program set up. Could you talk for a minute about that, just so people know the other side of you besides author?
We have a lot of free material, like a pure potential resource kit. That by the way, is at tinyurl.com/pure-potential, because we do EFT tapping healing, a certain holistic version of that, and spiritual kinesiology, healing from the soul. And we do a lot of classes, a lot of free things, and we also have courses in
tell everybody about the programs that are to be programs.
The spiritual holistic coaching and healing program is a wonderful deep dive, and we connect with people weekly who want to learn all about deep spiritual coaching and healing. We've developed this program over 20 years. People really love it. And they evolve spiritually. We map out the spiritual evolutionary map of how people evolve, and we can actually see it and track it in the program. And another program is called the Spiritual Guide Certification Program, and they have different 4-month modules, each of these spiritual guide program. And these are at our gettingthrough.org, gettingthrough.org/either life coach, life-coach, or gettingthrough.org/spiritual for the spiritual guide program.
Right. And that one is related, the spiritual guide program is related directly to the Magnificence book, the one that you have there. And that the book actually kind of evolved out of where we started exploring it, and then we started teaching people, because we've been teachers since the 90s also. So whatever we do, it's like the next step is to teach it. So we've been teaching that now for at least 3 years. And the book we just went through, actually, it was developing most of that time. And then we just put it out a few months ago now.
And this is just the website, the gettingthrough.org/spiritual for the that relates to the spiritual guide program and a lot of the materials that's in the book, The Awakening to Your Magnificence book. And you can get that book on Amazon or at our website. You can link to it at gettingthrough.org/spiritual
Yes,
/awakenings book. Yeah.
and we've got the link in the description to get to on.
Yeah.
So
Can I mention one other thing? Well, there's so much that we do that we tend to forget often the big picture, and which is that we started an organization we call Awakenings Institute, actually back in the 90s, and then organized it as a 501c3 nonprofit in, I think, 2005, so 20 years ago. And Awakenings Institute is devoted to creating a more loving world where everyone's gifts are honored and nurtured, and everything fits together. If you focus on love, everything falls into place. And so that is really our mission. All of this relates to the mission of creating this more loving world, which is also, I think that was what brought us to Enlightened World Network.
Yes. Yeah, and besides the book, if people want to connect with us, we recommend getting one of our free resource kits, and they'll be on our newsletter, and then they can easily connect with us directly in all our programs. And that I would recommend that free Pure Potential kit, which is a resource kit, which has an EFT free manual, some other really powerful healing methods we did called Super Reality Shift, and some video demos of just healing people with physical things that are very amazing healing demos. So you can get the free Pure Potential kit at tinyurl.com/pure-potential, tinyurl.com/pure-potential. And of course, the book on Amazon, Awakening to Your Magnificence.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So friends, before we leave, is there anything else, Philip and Jane, that you'd like to share?
Oh, there are always lots of things. Can we mention the solution book?
You can mention whatever you'd like.
That another thing that we did, and I think we wrote it about 2 years ago, probably. It's a book called The Solution, with the solution being love. Love is the solution, the ultimate solution. It's a completely free book that we developed for people to read and share. It has its own website, actually. Philip is shown gettingthrough.org, but it has a website, getthesolution.org, which is about getting the book. And it is a book to read and to share with other people. You can share it's a PDF. You can share it with whoever you want. In fact, we figure the more the merrier, because what we need to do is have more people understand what love can do for the world. That if everybody was coming, and we know everybody's not even close to that right now, but we have to be aiming for the ultimate solution. If everybody was motivated by love, we wouldn't have any of the problems we have now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think the environment would be fine because everybody would care for it. We'd care for all of the other aspects of the planet, the plants and animals and each other.
It's very practical too.
Other.
It's very practical, and we show how it's based on science, like the Awakening to Your Magnificence. Those tools, there's scientific evidence, there's evidence in wisdom traditions, religions, and of course, just the experience that we've been sharing with you and our students and clients, these amazing experiences people have with these tools and this knowledge.
Well, and last question, you all have written a lot of books.
Right.
Why this book at this time?
Well, I think because we're being called to, I recognize that we are magnificent, that I think that that's our next step, you could say, as individuals, to realize that we're masters in the making, and we're here now and we have the tools and the resources all available to be able to do that.
Yeah, and it's a time, if you think about even the lifetime we've had, which is very short in the span of things, there's certain things that happen which are pivotal moments, which you feel like this, like the internet being born, Now AI is coming online, which is aligning with the age of Aquarius, where people are questioning the status quo and can be using technology. They can use it for good or bad, but can use it for awakening, for making the world more harmonious and more authentic and more connected and more collaborative.
Mm-hmm. And really genuinely bring spirit down into form. That's what we want to do, is reach to the highest heights and bring that down into our presence here on earth. Those of us who understand that that has value and live fully. It's for us personally and for us also collectively.
Bringing heaven to earth.
Right, exactly. I love
Right.
that.
All right, Jane and Philip, thank you so very much for this time today. Friends, do check out Awakening to Your Magnificence on Amazon. And thank you for being here. Take good care. God bless.